All this started in Bristol. It's become Tri-Cities, but it's playing a part on the national stage now. So. After I graduated from graduate school, my wife and I moved back here to coach and teach at King, which is now King University, and spent 12 years over there. And toward the end, I realized that I wanted to do something different, so I started building new again houses. We had always flipped houses, but one or two at a time, like most people do. So we converted an old roofing shop, this tiny little roofing shop that's not much bigger than this room, on Henry Street, which we affectionately call the startup district of Bristol, and started hiring employees and started bringing someone in every year. And so that's where it started, and then we ran out of space, so we moved. We bought this property at Alabama Street, which has 6,000 square feet. I have no skills in construction, but I think that probably helped me because I wasn't tempted to get in the way. And so knowing that I didn't have those skills, my role was building this into a business and surrounding myself with people that had those skills, and then building the business around them and really staying out of their way. We do close to $2 million a year in construction here in the Tri-Cities. And so it's a fairly large operation, and we run all of that. We run our entire construction division through Ben Ferguson at Red Point Construction. So he's licensed, he manages all of our construction projects, and so he has numerous teams that work under him. We list all of our houses through real estate agents, through our partner HBX Realty, which is across the street, and so they list all of our houses. We also have a Bridge to Own program, which we started way back in 2010. And Blaine Hutchinson runs that. And what we find is there's a lot of people that want to be homeowners, but they're lacking the credit or lacking the experience. And so what we do is Blaine does free consults with them and coaches them on how to get qualified for a mortgage through a local bank. And then in 2014, we started flipping outside of Bristol. So we started looking in Kingsport and Johnson City, throughout the Tri-Cities, and that just began to grow. And we learned how to flip a house that we couldn't actually be there every day. So even though Kingsport's not that far away, we had to build systems that allowed us to flip that house without actually being present there. And so we began to really double down on building systems, and which has turned into full stack software. And so we've got a whole software team now that's developing that software. And so it grew into the Tri-Cities, and then in 2015 we really began building the franchise model and launched our first franchise location in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2019. We launched 5 locations in 2019, and we just launched our 25th location in St. Louis last week. And so now we've got 12 full-time people here at the headquarters. A few of them are focused on our Tri-Cities projects, which we do over 40 flips a year in the Tri-Cities. A lot of those are in Bristol, but between Abington and Greenville. And so we have a few people that are really focused on that business. There's a whole franchise section on our website, and we are adding 1 to 2 franchise locations every month. If you walk into any remodeling job site today, it's gonna look just about the same that it would have 50 years ago. The only difference is the tools have batteries rather than being plugged into the wall. So residential remodeling is one of the only areas of the economy that hasn't been affected by technology. And I see that as a massive opportunity. And so with our franchise model, we're able to create and innovate on that construction site and begin to use artificial intelligence and telepresence on those job sites. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is use technology to help those contractors be more successful. And so the potential of bringing technology to all of those job sites across the country it's exciting stuff. Everybody that does research on quality of life, and whether it's education or people's health, it's always traced back to the stability of a home. That seems to be the universal, the common denominator. And when you have a stable home, your chances of success in life are magnified. And if you don't have that, if you don't own a home and have that stability that comes with it, you and your kids are at just a real disadvantage. And so on a personal level, the housing stock in the Tri-Cities has not been maintained well. So there's a lot of deferred maintenance. And that requires a lot of expertise and capital to improve that housing stock and to make that stable homes for people. And so I think that's our role. So when we do that well and we see the pride and joy of people that are buying their first home or their second home, it's really rewarding. So on a personal level, there's that. But then on the bigger level, we're doing enough volume now to where we feel like we're making an impact in the housing stock in the Tri-Cities. And as the franchise continues to grow, to see that making an impact nationally is pretty exciting. And so what we have remained focused on is we put our typical construction budget is over $50,000. So these are pretty extensive rehabs. And the things that we spend money on the first are the things that we feel are the important things. So systems. So we start with foundation, the electrical, the plumbing, the things that homeowners don't really see and don't get them excited, but those require a lot of the resources. And so we've been trying to be really disciplined about focusing on those things first, and then trying to do the interior, the design piece of it, and be efficient with those dollars. You look for potential, and most people see what is, but you've got to see what can be. And so I think my background in coaching, that's kind of the magic of coaching as well, is see what a player can be. And it's not all that different with houses. And so you see things that make people run the other way, and see that as a problem that can be solved. And so you look for problems that can be solved, cosmetic things, even larger things like floor plan issues, but then also be aware of problems that can't be solved. And that's probably the more important thing to look for. We're going to take a little bit of credit for the revitalization of Fairmount because we've done so much in Fairmount. And when I started flipping houses like in 2008, there were areas of Fairmount that we were taking a risk. And now you see those areas are really sought after. That's one that's really rewarding, but not just that, but like the West State Street area of Broad Street and Anderson Street. We've seen that whole area really improve over the past decade. And there's a lot of unique custom-made houses in Bristol. There was a building boom in the 20s and 30s in Bristol, and so a lot of the housing stock is a product of that era. The challenge is what was important to people then is somewhat of a problem now. So you've got these big houses with a lot of square footage, large rooms, high ceilings that aren't really efficient now, and small closets and no bathrooms, like one bathroom, 5 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. So the challenge is like reconfiguring those houses for what people need today, but doing that in a way that keeps it affordable for our buyers. And then there's the capital piece too, which is obviously a big part of this business because it's capital intensive. And so we have built a private equity fund of local people. And Mark Pate, who I also met at King, has headed that up. And he started working with us, I think it was in 2013, 2014, and he began putting together a fund of private investors here locally that would fund our projects. And that has just grown. And so now that fund, which is now at Alta Capital, I think it has just surpassed 11 million. And that is almost entirely made up of local people, just normal people, some with as little as 50,000 and others with 1 million that have pooled resources to create this fund. And all they do is fund New Again Houses projects. So they rely on, so we vet those projects and we use our technology to minimize the risk. What's cool is that all of this started in Bristol. It's become Tri-Cities, but it's playing a part on the national stage now. So all the people involved though are local people. We've sold houses to second generation now. So people that were kids that were moving into those houses have grown up and bought houses from us, and so that's really cool to see. But it's not just the buyers. Probably the most gratifying are the sellers, because we buy a lot of houses, and all of those houses have a story, and the houses that we buy have problems that need to be solved. And so and the sellers typically aren't in a position to solve those problems, because the problems that we solve takes an ecosystem to solve. It takes a construction ecosystem. It takes a lot of expertise to solve those problems efficiently. And so to the relief that we see sellers have, it's like a weight being lifted off of their shoulders, and just a problem that's been weighing on them that we can solve, and not only solve for them, but they know that that's not just a house to them, that's a home. Like, they grew up there. It means something. So that they know that that home is going to have capital put into it, and another family is going to be able to raise their kids there. It means a lot. It's important to buyers, but equally important to the sellers that we work with. I think it's really rewarding to be a part of all that's happened in Bristol. Like, I feel like we've done a lot in Bristol, but a lot of people have done a lot in Bristol. Because when I was at King, State Street was, for the most part, boarded up. So it's a lot of people that have contributed in significant ways to Bristol, and to be a small part of that is pretty rewarding.